Here we go. Secrets of the Old City. Here we go. Everyone, thank you for joining us. Download the Just One Chesed app in your local app store and make a donation to Just One Chesed at justonechesed.org. Here is Tzvi Satt live in the Old City. We'd like to thank the Area Jerusalem for bringing this event. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Download the Just One Chesed app. Make a donation. Here we go. 1 second, Tzvi. I'm just unmuting you.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Hear me? We're here, obviously, in the Old City. Tzvi Satt, introduce myself. I live here in the Old City. I'm a resident of the Old City. I'm going to take you on a tour. We're going to try to be a real tour, a tour that we're going to walk around. We're going to see sights. Obviously, we're going to start with the most famous Kosel. The Kosel Maravi is here behind me. We're at a special overlook. It's very unfortunate, as we all know, the Kosel is mostly closed to the public, but we have the opportunity to see it virtually, to actually not just see it, but to be ola regel, to join it in what the mitzvah that we had 3 times a year to come to the Old City, to come to Har Bayis, to come to this area and actually get the mitzvah aliyah regel. We'll talk about that more later. This used to be on a regular year during Chol Hamoed Pesach. This area is packed with people. I couldn't be standing here with only 2 people around here. I would have had hundreds, and the area down there would have thousands. But unfortunately today, because of the corona situation, it's mainly closed right now. When I see 1 person in the women's section and not a single other person here at the Kosel. The Kosel is, as everybody knows, is the famous walls that surrounded Har Bayis. People think that the Kosel was part of the Beis Hamikdash. It wasn't directly part of the Beis Hamikdash. What happened was the Beis Hamikdash was on Har Bayis, the Temple Mount, and surrounding Har Bayis was 4 walls, one of them being the Western Wall. But what people don't know about the Western Wall, there's certain details that people don't really realize, but the Western Wall is actually only a small section. What you see right there is actually only a small section of the actual Western Wall. What do I mean? Let me show you on my picture over here. You see over here, we're going to look at, this is the second Beis Hamikdash, the Herodian last version of the second Beis Hamikdash. This is the Western Wall. This is the Southern Wall. This is the Eastern Wall. And this is the Northern Wall. But if you guys look closely, I'm going to make a little motion here. See where my fingers are right now? This section that I'm covering is the Western Wall, is the Kosel, as you know it today. The reality is that the Western Wall goes from here to here. But we only daven and we only access this area because from here onwards, basically, it is covered today in homes that are built on the wall. It's part of the Muslim quarter. Okay, this wall is totally covered with homes. What does it mean by covered with homes? It means there are people who live with their house built on the coast. Imagine you go into your living room and you see today in the Muslim quarter, those who join my Muslim quarter tours will have seen this before. We show you to firsthand. But we daven just at this little section of the Kosel Hamaravi, one little part of the actual wall. Why do we daven? I'll ask you a question that I get from all different people all the time. Why do we daven specifically at the Western Wall? Why don't we daven at the Eastern Wall, Southern Wall, Northern Wall? What is unique about the Western Wall that makes it more holy, more special, a Makom Kodesh? So the people quote a lot of Midrashim. The real simplest reason, the reason that makes the most sense, is because the Western Wall, if you look at my thing, the Western Wall is closer to the Kodesh HaKadoshim, which is in this tower, than the Southern Wall, the Eastern Wall, the Northern Wall. This is the closest wall to this place. But right over here, are you at the closest place? You are not. The closest place would be somewhere around here. But this is the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Today, how do you know where the Kodesh HaKadoshim is? Well, if you go and you see, and look behind me, you'll see on the top of Har Bayis is a big gold dome. That gold dome is the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the same place. It's covering what we call the Even HaShasiyah. The Kodesh HaKadoshim was the peak, the top of Har Moriah. Har Moriah, the very famous mountain. You know it from Yitzhak and Akedat Yitzhak, right? The binding of Isaac. That mountain had a peak at the top. The top of the mountain is considered the Kodesh HaKadoshim. We also, it goes by another name. The name it goes by is called the Even HaShasiyah, the foundation stone. That spot is the holiest place in Judaism. In the Beis Hamikdash, the Kodesh HaKadoshim was built right around that peak of the mountain. And today we have what we call the Dome of the Rock. The Dome of the Rock. Why is it called Dome of the Rock? What rock? The Even HaShasiyah, the foundation stone. That actually is the rock that is still there. It's the holiest place in our religion. We daven at the Western Wall because it's closest and accessible to the Kodesh HaKodashim. And that's important to understand. There are really places that are even closer to the Kodesh HaKodashim. It's not easily as accessible. Those who've done my tours in live or on my virtual tour at secretsoftheoldcity.com, they will see the closer places. What happens is this is the spot where for years, for centuries, for at least 600 years, where people would come from all around just to daven at this spot. We have the famous minhagim of putting a note in the wall, right? That's very, very famous custom that is very common. There are customs that aren't common today, but did exist in way back when. If those who come with me up into the wall, I could show you certain spots. If you look very closely, you'll see people's names engraved in the wall. What does it mean? Who has the chutzpah? Who has the audacity to engrave their name in the wall? Actually, it used to be there was a custom to come to the Western Wall and engrave your name, so Hashem would know, sort of, that you were here and daven for you. And unlike just putting your name on a note, you would actually engrave your name. So they have a few spots. Most of them have been filled up with plaster. They don't want people to start this custom again, but there is a custom like this. Now, what unfortunately today, because we can't come here because of Corona, I'm bringing you here virtually. But I'm not just going to stay here at the Western Wall. I'm going to take you through my hometown, through where I live, to the rest of the Jewish quarter, okay, and getting to see a little bit of the history of this very, very, very famous place. The Jewish quarter for at least 600 years has been inhabited by Jews. But really the idea of quarters, the Jewish quarter, Muslim quarter, Armenian quarter, Christian quarter, is really not such an old thing. It's not a very famous thing. Only in about 1917 or so did that division get brought up. Before that, there was 30% of today what they refer to as the Muslim quarter was Jewish. There was a lot of Jews living all over Jerusalem. It was a mixed area. Today it is primarily more divided up, but there is in the Muslim quarter, there is about 100 Jewish families living there today, okay, even though it's considered the Muslim quarter. Now, follow me. We're going to go and start our walk, leaving the Western Wall, to go and begin to see some of the unique sites that we're going to see here today. As I walk today, you'll notice that we have very, very, very ancient stones, right? These stones, everybody says they must be extremely, extremely old. Now, a little secret that a lot of tour guides don't tell you is that not every stone in the Jewish quarter is so old. What happened was in 1948, the Jordanian party of the Jewish quarter, and most of the buildings today in the Jewish quarter are actually built new. So when you see a building here in the Jewish quarter of the old city, very often it is a new building built since 1967 or onwards. But I like to point out the ones that are ancient. And we're going to start off right over here, right next to the overlook of the coastal that we just were. We're going to start at a new building, not a new building, an old building, a very, very old building. You see behind me, there's a very, very beautiful building. The building has some very, very cool handiwork. That stone was carved by hand in the mid 1800s. What happened was in the mid 1800s, the Yemenites, the people from Yemen, started making aliyah, started coming to Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael was a destination for them, a dream. They thought it was going to bring Mashiach, okay, and they really started coming slowly but slowly. It was a big journey. They came literally by foot all the way from Yemen to Israel, and they were extraordinarily poor. Unfortunately, they were very far into the people who lived in Eretz Yisrael at the time did not understand the Yemenites. They were very, very dark colored. They were very dressed differently. They dressed very, very Arab. And therefore, the Jewish people had no understanding of who the Yemenites were, and they shunned them. They did not treat them nicely. And what happened was the Yemenites, basically, they were extraordinarily poor. They were living in the forest surrounding the old city. There's a bunch of valleys and forests surrounding the old city, and they were living in tents, in horrible living situations. And they were literally, that's where they were living. Horrendous situations. One time, I think it was in 1868, a member of what was called the American Colony. The American Colony was a group of Americans who sort of made a colony here in the old city in those times. He was not a Jewish person. He came and he was walking on a tour with his, like a hike with his family. And they were walking in this forest. And suddenly they come across a bunch of people. He describes very very specifically, these people were extremely sweet. They were welcoming. They were in a situation. And when he said, what's going on here? He says, well, we have no money. We can't live. We have no jobs. We have no way of living. And therefore, we're just eking out a living over here without having any other option. And he felt so bad for them. So he decided to create an organization to help the Yemenite Jews who left Yemen, because the Jewish people, unfortunately, were not helping them. What happened was they basically went and he started this organization, and right after he started, the Jewish community realized they made a big mistake. They said, wait a second, the Goyim are helping the own Jews? Well, next thing you know, they're going to convert them. Or next thing you know, they're going to, something about them is going to be negative. They're going to take advantage of them. Made a big mistake. And then a Rav Dov Fierman, his name was, he got together and he opened up the first organization to help the Yemenite Jews. And once that happened, suddenly the Yemenite Jews were able to come into the old city and come into the area and begin to actually be part of the Jewish community. They welcomed them. They gave money to build homes, to live here, and even build schools. What happened, this building over here, it started off as a school, a Yemenite school called Yeshivat Sukas David, okay? And this was a beautiful building. It's you can't see it so much in this angle, but right behind, right facing this way, if you go really, really high, raise your hand as much as you can, you'll see the gold dome a little bit, but you see the little area in the right above, in the gate, in the fence, that's actually the kosel. What happened is that this yeshiva was founded to make sure that the Yemenite could keep their Masorah, keep their tradition, their heritage. They had a very rich heritage with an amazing uniquenesses to keep it. And this was the first Yemenite school, yeshiva, here in the Old City, possibly in Israel, I'm not sure, but I think here in the Old City. And this was built with the help of people who came there to help them. And this Yemenite beautiful handiwork. I want to show you, follow me over here for a second. I want to show you how over here, if you look over here, these are 3 windows, right? These are 3 windows. But really, when this school was originally built, entranceway. How do I know that? Well, it's a little trick. Come over here. If you look closely, and you come over here, you look up over there, you'll see in the walls a little bit of a hole in the right side. You see that hole? That hole is the mezuzah. The mezuzah hole was there. A leftover is a remnant of when this was the main entrance. What is this building used for today? Bar Ilan University. Bar Ilan University owns the building, and they rent it out to a school called Moriah. And that is a school for kids based over here. This is one of the schools here of the Old City. Follow me as we head up to a very unique street called Shonei Halachot Street. Follow me up the very, very cool, long street there. What's it called? Look at this street. Look at this street. Okay, you'll see it's a very, very long street with a path going all the way up. This street is called Shonei Halachos. Shonei Halachos was originally, when they redesigned the Old City after the 6-Day War, this street was meant to be the main access road to the Kosel. You would go down the street and you would get to the Kosel. What do you mean? Now, if you spin around, we're going up it. If you turn around, back it, you'll see at the bottom of the street, we'll zoom in. Okay, we can't zoom in, unfortunately, but you see that light over there at the end? See that light, the shining light at the end of this tunnel, sort of? That is the Kosel, right over there. And this street would have led you right into the Kosel, but what happened was, due to some political situations and some homes that were in the way that they felt they were legally allowed to move, they were not able to use the street as an entranceway. The Kosel, they moved the entranceway to a different location, and till today, the street is just a quiet little side street of the Old City. I live at the top of this street. Come, follow me. We're going to head up toward my house. We're going to go to see some unique and cool locations that most people cannot see today because you can't really travel here to Israel. We're going to continue up Shonei Halachos Street. Okay? You're going to see we're going to end at the top of this pathway. Once we get to the top of this pathway, we're going to see on the right, we'll pass my house. I'm not going to show it to you fully, but my wife will kill me. But we will say that this is very, very close to where I live. And follow me as we continue. We're moving upwards. We're going to pass to the right over here. If you look at me, okay, right over here to my left is my home. Right over here, follow me. We're going to go to what's called the Broad Wall. We're in the Broad Wall is a remnant of the first Beis Hamikdash, one of the coolest things here in the Old City. I'm going to get to in a second to show you how that works. 1 second, we're about to be there. Okay, if you go over here, you see, look down. Okay, if you look down below us, you'll see a bunch of old stones. Now, the whole Old City has a lot of old stones, but I want to point out a specifically unique one. Okay, something very, very unique about these specific stones. If you look over there on the right, you'll see the stones drop. And you look there on the other side, the stones also drop. The archaeologists in the 1970s, the archaeologists uncovered a wall that surrounded Yerushalayim. But what's unique about this wall, we have a lot of walls here in the Old City that are famous. This wall surrounded Yerushalayim in the time of the first Beis Hamikdash. It's one of the few remnants we have of the Beis Hamikdash time. It's one of the few remnants we have from this time period. What happened was the wall, Yerushalayim was always surrounded by a wall, right? We talked about on Purim, Yerushalayim, we celebrate Purim the second day, and Shushan Purim. Why? Because any walled city from the time of Yeshua ben Nun was considered was celebrated Purim on the second day. What happened is this specific area, this wall was the wall at the end of the first Beis Hamikdash. Yerushalayim had a wall around it. The first Beis Hamikdash was built by Shlomo HaMelech. Shlomo HaMelech built it. It was a small city that encompassed what today we know as Ir David and Har Bayis. And then over time, it got expanded and expanded. At its final point before the destruction of the first Beis Hamikdash, this wall that you see down there was the wall that surrounded it. A wall is very important. It's how you protected a city. This was the end of the city. What happened was if you were in that side where the playground was, okay, if you look over there, you were inside Yerushalayim. If you were on this side, okay, you're outside Yerushalayim. Now, what happens is this wall was the wall that they had to break through to destroy the first Beis Hamikdash. The Babylonians, Nebuchadnezzar, comes to Yerushalayim, all right, and comes here, and he attacks Yerushalayim. He besieges Yerushalayim. The siege lasted somewhere like 2 months, like a year, over a year, at least a year and 2 months, something like that. He besieged trying to break through this wall. Now, what was the big deal? If you guys look again, this wall is 7 meters, about 21 feet wide. But if you look over there, it's hard to see, but if you look on the wall over there, you'll see there's a ruler on the wall. And that ruler shows you the estimated height of the wall. The estimated height of the wall is 8 meters, which is about 24 feet high. 24 feet high and 21 feet wide. The wall was almost as wide as it was tall. Imagine breaking through a wall that is so massive and so large and having to break through it by hand without any power tools, no tractors, no jackhammers, no bulldozers. You had to crack through it. But not only that, on top of that wall was archers, was soldiers who were shooting at you and making sure you didn't have a chance to protect it. That's why it took so long for them to break through. Eventually they broke through, and eventually it took them at least 3 weeks to get in, and they eventually destroyed the first base. Old city where Yerushalayim ended practically. Now, what does that mean practically? What happens is the Rambam, this is important for today very specifically, the Rambam, the famous Rambam, writes that someone who comes, even when there's no Beis Hamikdash, unfortunately, and comes to the old city, to the area of Yerushalayim that was in existence at the end of the first Beis Hamikdash time period, they get apostle mitzvah d'oraisa of Aliyah L'Regel. What do I mean Aliyah L'Regel? Halachically, 3 times a year, Pesach, Sukkot, Shavuos, we have a requirement, it's a mitzvah d'oraisa, to come to Har Bayis and get as a commandment, a mitzvah of alil regel. Now, according to the Rambam, if I come and I stand right now over here, which is outside the old city officially, because the wall is to my right, okay, I don't get the mitzvah alil regel. But if I come and I stand over here in where the playground is, I am inside Yerushalayim, original Yerushalayim, and I actually get a mitzvah, apostle mitzvah, d'oraisa of alil regel. Now that's a big deal. It's even more of a big deal on Sukkot. Pesach right now, it used to be on a regular year, this place is filled with people coming to get the mitzvah of alil regel. Today, unfortunately, because of Corona, this whole place is besieged. We can't really get in and out. Okay, because I live here, they allow me to walk around. Then I go and I was able to. I come here and I'm basically the only person here. You could see the playground. Unfortunately, it's empty. That is the reality we're living in. Everybody has to maintain the rules of social distancing. We are now going. You guys are being ola regel virtually. You're actually coming to see it without having. You can't be here physically, but at least your mind, and your hearts are over here. Rav Belsky, somebody told me the right Torah from Rav Belsky, based in Shir Shirim, which we just read yesterday, and he writes that based on a pasuk in Shir Shirim, that there were many people who would come in the time of the Beis HaMikdash to be ola regel. And what happened was something would happen in the process. Their son would get sick. They would hurt themselves. Something would happen, and they couldn't make it here. And that pasuk in Shir Shirim is telling us that anyone who attempts to make it, who wanted to come to Yerushalayim, gets the mitzvah of alil regel, even if he doesn't actually do it. So you guys are coming and visiting me here on this tour. You're getting a mitzvah d'oraisa of attempting to be alil regel. At least you get to see this. And therefore, you guys have a very big, special schus. Even someone who doesn't live in Eretz Yisrael could actually get the schus for maybe the first time in history. So, come, let's see some more of Yerushalayim. Follow me as we walk through a very funny thing. Right next to this ancient history is a children's park. Unfortunately, the park is empty because no one's allowed to play outside right now. But we get to see how in the old city we have to mix the history and the reality. Today's day, my children play over here. This is a park where we all part of. Unfortunately, as you see, it's empty. Not a very large park, but the old city space is very, very important. Come, follow me as we walk through some of the alleyways of the old city, and we will go to another section, okay, of the area of the old city. We're walking through. On my right is their nurseries. Yes, in the old city, as much as everything's old, we still have children, and my children attend this nursery. These are the nurseries, and even some people park over here. If you see, look over here, we have a car parked, okay? And there's even this is an official spot. It's very hard to get in. You have to be a really talented driver to get in over here. Now, following me as we go through to the center of the old city. We're about to be at the center, the core, the crux of the old city. We're going to work step by step. There's so much history here to see. We're going to try to get it all done in the next few minutes that we have left. We're standing over here in what we call, some people know it as the Chorva Square. The Chorva Square is this big open square. It's the center of the old city. This is where the hustle and bustle, all the restaurants, all the life of the old city is centered out of here. Unfortunately now, I don't see a single person. We are empty. Well, unfortunately, the realities we're living in. But we're here. There's a ton of history here. There's a ton of stories, the great stories that took place here. We're going to try to take that and share that with you so you could get the old city experience, the taste of the Jewish quarter without actually being here. Follow me. Let's go a little closer. I want to show you something unique. We're going to get closer to a famous menorah. You guys see it over here. Gold colored. This menorah behind me was moved here about 1.5 years ago. The menorah that those who look at it closely, you'll see is slightly different than your usual. If you count the branches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the one including the one in the center, 5, 6, 7 branches. Anyone who knows the menorah we light on Hanukkah, they know that a Hanukkah menorah does not have 7 branches. It has 8 branches plus the shamash of 9. What is going on? What is this menorah? I'm sure some of you are answering my question already. What happens is that this over here, this menorah, is a replica of the menorah that would have existed in the Beis Hamikdash. There's an organization called the Temple Institute, Machon HaMikdash. Machon HaMikdash, Machon HaMikdash is an organization that emphasizes and puts a lot of effort into trying to recreate Kalim of the Beis Hamikdash. And they go based on the Rambam. The Rambam says you're allowed to make it. There's a Machlokes. Some people say you can't, but they based on the Rambam says you can make the Kalim Beis Hamikdash. They decided to make, in the late 1990s, to make a replica of the menorah. The problem is you can't make a replica of the menorah without making it out of the right material. What is the right material? The right material is gold. That's a lot of gold to make a menorah like this, and therefore it was not so simple to make a gold menorah. So they made it out of bronze. They did not make it out of gold. This bronze menorah was put on display in their museum that they have. And suddenly a wealthy man walked in and he said, wait a second. I know a little bit about this menorah. I know that it was no way, if you're going to make a replica of the real thing, there's no way you could just make it out of bronze. It has to be made out of gold. So they explain the Gemara actually had two different of Hanukkah was not made out of gold because the gold was tameh, so they had to make a new menorah and they made it out of wood. Therefore, we have sources that allow us to make the menorah out of other materials. So they're saying that's what we didn't have. We couldn't afford that. We couldn't afford the proper gold menorah. So therefore, we went and we made a menorah out of bronze. So he says like this: I could go and I could try to help you out. I could try to go and make a menorah out of gold. I'll sponsor the gold. He said, well, it was a kav of gold. A kav is a measurement from the Torah. It's something about 100 pounds, estimation. That 100 pounds of gold he donated. It's about $1 million worth of gold. He donated it, and he said, put it toward the menorah. There were some technical issues they had though with that. What happened was gold, as much as gold is actually a very, very expensive metal, it might be a relatively strong metal. Gold is very, very, very supple. It's very soft. And therefore, if you made those the arms of the menorah out of gold, the weight of the gold would begin to bend, and it would not hold its form. And they want to maintain a very good form of the menorah. So they realized they can't use 100% gold in the menorah. So what they did was they took a bronze core, a very thin bronze core, and they put a full 100 pounds of gold as a plating. But it's not the thin little plating, it's actually a thick plating on top of it to make it a basically mostly gold menorah with a small core inside it that actually keeps its shape. And therefore you have this beautiful menorah made out of gold, $1 million worth of gold, on display here, as hopefully the goal is, I think, if Mashiach comes, they could use this menorah in the Beis Hamikdash. And that is one of the unique things that we have here in the Old City. We're going to move back now in the square, and we're going to focus on what's behind the menorah. If you guys look behind us, you'll see there's a very, 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 very large shul. It's a massive building all the way up there. It's known as the Chorva Shul. Chorva in Hebrew means the destroyed shul. Notice this beautiful, beautiful, really tall shul. It's like the epicenter of the Old City. It's taller and larger than any other building in the Old City. This is the destroyed shul. Can't you tell? Obviously not. It's not destroyed. Why does it have the name even of the destroyed shul? The story here is actually not such a fun story. It's a little bit of a sad story, but it's the reality of what we're dealing with. The Old City has been attacked and been destroyed numerous times. Yerushalayim is the most complicated piece of real estate in the world. 64 times in history, Yerushalayim has been destroyed. It's the most complicated piece of real estate ever, and we are all part of this bigger and bigger attempt to try to return to Yerushalayim. Okay, when we said not too long ago, like 2 nights ago at the end of your Seder, you said L'shana ba Yerushalayim habnuya. Habnuya means rebuilt. The goal is to come back to Yerushalayim that has been rebuilt. Today, Yerushalayim is being rebuilt. I have to say it. This is a perfect example of the rebuilding of Yerushalayim. What happened was in the year 1700, Rabbi Yehuda Chassid, who was a great rabbi living in Europe, who was a very extremely popular rabbi, who had a very strong group of followers, and they decided that, you know something, we are going to go to Yerushalayim and start making the dream of L'Shana Yerushalayim HaBenuya into a reality. Let's go to Yerushalayim and build it. That's the goal. Let's do it. Why are we waiting and talking about it and singing songs after the Seder when we could actually do it practically? So what happens is they go, and they basically go, and they went, and they decided they're going to try to come to Yerushalayim and build up an Ashkenazi community in Yerushalayim. The problem was they had one thing going for them. The Ottoman government at that time was a little more moderate. It actually allowed the Jewish people to live here pretty simply, even allowed them to build a little bit. And they went and they said, hey, if we get the money together, we could build up Yerushalayim. So what they did was they decided to go here, and their goal was they were going to build up a shul and a community center here in the old city. And they went here, and the only issue they had, and it's an issue that they have, and every other organization in the world, specifically a Jewish organization in the world has, is that they did not have the money to build the community center they wanted to. So what they did was they went to some wealthy people in Europe and said, hey, could you sponsor this project? We're going to build up a community in Yerushalayim, the old city. And all the wealthy people said, no way, I would never do that. And they said, what do you mean? How can you not do that? It's so amazing. He says, no, you don't realize. Our history is full of so many opportune times where we attempted to build Yerushalayim and we failed. So therefore, we're not going to waste our money and give you money. Go build it and then come back to us. Maybe we'll make a donation. So the person arranged this thing. He said, oh, good. I have people willing to pay for this project. I just need to do it first, and then I'll pay for it. It was a horrible idea. What he did was he came to Yerushalayim. They donkey all the way from the port in Jaffa, coming here to the old city. There was no highways. There was no light rail. There was no super trains or fast trains or buses or neshers. None of that. You had to come here by donkey with all your luggage. They basically made Aliyah on the real term. They literally rode up to Yerushalayim. And they come here and they say, hey, let's buy this piece of land. Let's build a community here. The community is going to have one big shul in the center. Surrounded there will be a mikvah, a house for the rabbi, a beis medrash, a cheder, a beis din, a whole Jewish community in one. And basically they decided they're going to do that. They're going to come here. And this was the goal. This was the plan of the people, the Talmidim of Yehuda Chassid. The problem was, as I said before, they didn't have any money to do this. They were lacking that option. So you know what they did? They decided to do, they'll borrow the money from Muslim money lenders, like the predecessor of a bank, and they would use that money to actually build this up. And then they'll go back to Europe, and in Europe they'll be able to borrow to get them donations to pay back the money lenders. And that was the goal. The problem was it was a horrible idea because they didn't have guaranteed donations. They didn't have people say for sure they can do it. They had a hope that people would pay for it. So they borrowed huge amounts of money, and they came here with a goal just to build it and then pay it back after. Unfortunately, it wasn't so simple because they built up a beautiful building. They built up a whole community, and then the person who had to go back to Europe to collect the money, he's the one who had the connections. He's the one who could raise this money. Unfortunately, they could not raise this money. And therefore, the Jewish people fell into despair. They could not pay back the debt. And therefore, they were in a very, very tough situation. For 19 years, they attempted to. They were being hounded by the creditors, by the money lenders, but they had no luck. They could not raise the money. And after 19 years of attempting to pay back, the Arab money lenders who lent them money said, you're not paying us back. We're going to destroy the shul because you didn't pay us the debt. And that shul got destroyed, and that was in 1719. And suddenly, from 1719 till about 1850 something, 54 probably, this shul was referred to as the Chorva, as the destroyed shul, because it was a destroyed shul. It wasn't a shul anymore. It was just a pile of rubble. And everybody said, oh, that's the Chorva of Yehuda Chassid. He had this great idea, but it all failed. What happens is, in around the 1850s, the Talmidim of the Gra, the Vilna Gaon, they decided that they have this dream. The dream is to come to Yerushalayim to build up Yerushalayim. Now that we want to rebuild this huge shul in the old city to be the centerpiece of the old city. Well, who has had this dream before? The Talmidim of Yehuda Chassid, just 100 and something years later. But they said they had one thing different from the previous group. They actually had the money. They had access to money, and they were able to go to Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali was a sultan. He was not a boxer. Later he became a boxer. No, he didn't. Someone took his name and became a boxer. And Muhammad Ali was a sultan living in Germany, in Egypt at the time, and he was given, he was the one in charge, and they went to Muhammad Ali and said, Muhammad, can you help us out? We want to build a community here in the old city. We want to build a beautiful shul. We will make sure, we will work it out that you will get, it'll be very worth it for you. What did it be worth it for you? They bribed him. They bribed him to give the permission to build up a shul here in the old city. And he said like this, he goes, we really want to build it where the last shul was destroyed. On top of the chorva, the destruction of the previous shul, let's build a new shul there. And Muhammad Ali says, no problem. 2 conditions. Condition A, you have to pay back the debts. You owe money, you can't do it. They said, no problem. They pay back all the debts. Condition B, and this was even the harder one, they said, you need to go and to only build a shul that's simpler and smaller and not as fancy as any of the mosques in the area. We want it to be that the shul is not the nicest thing in the area. We want the shul to be simple. The fancy should be the mosque. They said, okay, that wasn't exactly our goal. Our goal was to do something a little more. So therefore, they had to brainstorm. What can we do to make this a reality, to make it that we could go and we could build a shul, a big, beautiful shul. What happens is they came across a great idea. They decided to go back to Muhammad Ali. They went back to Muhammad Ali and they said, Muhammad Ali, can we ask you a question? Could you recommend an architect to build us the shul, to design the shul for them? He said, sure, no problem. Here's my best architect, the top guy. He's actually in Jerusalem right now. He is renovating the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Come, he'll also build you a shul. They said, okay, well, is he a good architect? They said, yeah, he just built us a mosque in Turkey that was so beautiful. That's why we took him as the best architect in the area. So he said, okay, great. They go to this guy. We'll call him Amir. I don't know his name. They go to him and they said to him, hey, Amir, could you build a shul here in the old city? And Amir said, no way. I built mosques. I don't build shuls. And they said to him, no, the Sultan sent us. You can't really say no. And Amir was like, oh, man, he really would want it just to say no, but now he wasn't given an option. So you know what they did? He said, I'll build you a shul, but I'm not going to do it so simply. What am I going to do? I'll take the blueprints, the plans from the mosque I built in Turkey. I'll give it to you, copy it exactly, and then you guys have a shul, and I was Yotzazan. I got my building of the shul done. So what he did was he went, and they said, great. They took the plans. They went back to Muhammad Ali. They said, Muhammad Ali, we got plans from your great architect. Could we build it? This building that he showed him was a massive, beautiful building. It looks very much like this building. And they said to him, could we build it? Muhammad Ali said, if my architect designed it, it's a beauty to Yerushalayim. Take it, build it, whatever you want. And that's how they were able to build a much larger building than originally given to them. What happened was in 1948, that was around 1864, it opened to the public. In 1948, the Jordanians surrounded this area, besieged the old city, kicked out all the Jews, and began to destroy this place. They did what anti-Semites have been doing until this very day, is they were attacking the shuls. They attacked the shuls, they destroyed the Chorva synagogue, it was still called the Chorva, the destroyed shul, even though it was a beautiful shul. They destroyed it, and they went and they left it in ruin. In 1966, we had the 6-Day War. After the war, the old city returns to Jewish hands. And in the year about 2000, they built a memorial arch. But then, in the year 2000, the government says, let's rebuild the shul like it was originally. And therefore, they went and they decided to rebuild the shul. The problem was they didn't know, they wanted a copy of the original one, not the first one, the second one. And they said, wait a second, there is a mosque in Turkey. Let's go to Turkey and try to copy it, because we know that's how it was. And they're able to rebuild the building like you see over here. It's a copy of the mosque. It's a copy of the original shul, and it's still called the Chorva shul, even though it's already been destroyed a few times. I said 2 times already. And this Chorva shul is one of the most beautiful and one of the most central shuls of the old city. I hope you guys realize that this is the story of Yerushalayim. Yerushalayim has been destroyed over and over again. But not only we come back to build in beautiful, beautiful structures. What is the structure we're going to be building very soon? The Beis HaMikdash. We're davening for it today. You guys can daven wherever you are in the world. We're allowed to daven. We all face the Beis HaMikdash and Makom HaMikdash when we daven, because that's the goal. Yerushalayim is the story of Yerushalayim is not just destruction, but rejuvenation, rebuilding Yerushalayim, creating a Yerushalayim that's going to be ours in its entirety, and to be part of the eventual Beis Hamikdash, third Beis Hamikdash of Herod Yemenu. I offer you guys just to know that this is a very, very short sample of my virtual tour. Usually I do live tours with people, but right now, if you guys want, I have a special I made it for Chol Hamoed, and I'll continue after that. You could join my virtual tour of a much more better view of the area at secretsoftheoldcity.com. Feel free to join. I hope you guys enjoyed today and have an amazing good Moed, Chag Kosher v'Sameach, and Moadim v'Simcha. Have a great day from here from the Old City.
Wow.